If you had told me that I would be putting felling wedges into the suspension of my truck, I would have thought you were absolutely crazy. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and to another midweek video. In today's video, I want to tell you about a suspension upgrade that we have made to my truck that, while rather unconventional, seems to be working out really well, and because it is so budget friendly, it's something that I would like more people to know about. So I have a 2005 Chevy Silverado 3500. It's an awesome truck and I like it a lot. I call it Hank. Over the years since I have had it, there are things that I have done to improve the drivability. Around a year ago, before we went on the road to go to Idaho, I had basically the entire front end rebuilt, which was huge. And then a couple of months ago, I had some rear end work done as well, replaced the shocks and that kind of thing. And then I also just got all new tires as well. Just general preventative stuff that you would want to do. At this point, we are kind of tweaking things, figuring out what we can do to improve the stability on the road. Although the truck handles the weight of this camper really well, so we really are kind of nitpicking and tweaking a little bit. But the one thing that we've always noticed since we bought this camper is the side-to-side sway and movement. You can definitely tell that there is something basically over top of you when you are driving down the road, and anytime you take any kind of turn, obviously gravity is going to be pulling you one way or the other significantly more than it would be because your center of gravity is displaced quite a bit. Torque Lift actually does sell something to help correct this. It's called the Stable Load Suspension Stabilizers. We were actually considering getting them at some point in the not too distant future. They basically work by engaging the overload springs in the rear end sooner so that your ride is stiffer. But they are kind of expensive. They push between $500 to $600, and not knowing whether or not it was something that would exponentially improve things, we were a little bit hesitant to just spend that money outright. And that was when Stuart came across a video from a YouTuber with the channel name Kenny of All Trades, and if this is something that you are interested in doing, I highly recommend checking out his video because it's very informative and very well done. I will link it down in the description. But basically, he accomplished the same thing that $500 to $600 part does with a couple of felling wedges. And if you had told me a while ago that I would be putting felling wedges into the suspension of my truck, I would have thought you were absolutely crazy. As it turns out, it works way better than you could ever imagine. So we picked up 4 felling wedges because we wanted to put one on either side of the leaf springs on each side of the truck, and then 4 hose clamps because we wanted to secure the felling wedges to the bottom overload spring so that we weren't worrying about kind of shooting out if something happened or getting jarred and coming loose and us losing it down the road. We were able to pick up all of those things from Tractor Supply for around $50. Getting it all installed was really simple. Whenever I'm doing any kind of project, I always guesstimate that it's going to take significantly longer than my most optimistic outlook. This was one of the times where it actually ended up going really smoothly, and start to finish I think it took about an hour and a half. We just jacked the rear end of the truck up so that everything expanded. Stuart used a pry bar and a mallet to help separate things a little bit more, put the felling wedge in, knock it into place, and then we drilled holes through the felling wedges on the back end so that the hose clamp could go through and then go underneath the bottom overload spring. From there, we just lowered the truck back down, and that was it. That was the installation process. After that, the only thing that we needed to do was test it out and see if the theory actually paid off. Today we are going to drive and test and see whether or not putting in the felling wedges made any difference at all. So, fingers crossed. So I have to say I was on the fence a little bit because I really couldn't tell from being in the passenger seat if there was a noticeable difference, but now being the one driving, there definitely is. I don't feel like there's as much side to side, and it doesn't feel as top heavy going around turns and that kind of thing as much as it did before, particularly when we were in town making tighter turns and that kind of thing. It just felt a whole lot more solid, which is really, really cool, and I like it a lot. All in all, I am very, very impressed with this technique and with how well it worked. I was pretty dubious of it initially just because it really doesn't seem like something that would work, at least not to my thinking, but it worked really, really well. And although as a passenger, like I had said, it wasn't the most noticeable difference in the world, once I was actually in the driver's seat, it was huge. So if you are looking to upgrade your suspension, to do something to improve the stability and the side-to-side sway without breaking the bank, then I think you could do a whole lot worse than something like this. I will be keeping an eye on it over the next coming months as we are traveling more and we're on the road more, just to see how things are wearing. I'm curious to see how those felling wedges hold up. I mean, they're pretty dense plastic. People use them to fell trees, which weigh hundreds and hundreds of pounds, and you don't commonly hear about felling wedges breaking. So I don't think that it's going to be an issue in this case, but I will be keeping an eye on it. And at some point down the line, maybe I will do a little bit of an update just so we can kind of touch base and see how things have worn over time. I just wanted to share this with all of you because I think it's pretty cool, and it couldn't really be easier. If I had been on my own and Stuart wasn't a factor in all of this, I feel very confident that I could have figured it out and done it on my own, which is pretty cool because I'm not somebody who, automotively speaking, is super confident. So there's that as well. But that is pretty much it. I don't know what to call this, the felling wedge suspension technique. I don't know. As far as I know, it doesn't really have a name or anything like that. But if you are interested in doing something like this, like I said, I highly recommend checking out Kenny of All Trades. His video is really excellent, and he has a whole bunch of different camera angles and really cool things that he did to show you the differences in how his vehicle was riding pre and post installation, which is super, super helpful. If you decide to do something like this, I would love to hear about it. If you have done something like this and you've had it installed for a while, let me know. Let me know what your thoughts are, what your biggest takeaways are. If you've done something like this and then also ended up doing the torque lift suspension, then let me know. At some point down the line, maybe we will upgrade to the fancier torque lift suspension, but at this point, I think we're gonna stick with this and just see how it works for us. So that is pretty much it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it and would like to see more content like this from me, make sure that you give it a thumbs up because it tells me everything that I need to know. And also subscribe if you haven't already. My analytics tell me that the majority of the people who watch my content are not subscribed, so if you wanted to do that, I would greatly appreciate it. And I really appreciate everyone who has subscribed so far. One final thing that I do want to mention before I close out this video, my Sunday video slot for the last several months has been dedicated to vlogs about renovating this camper. That is going to continue to be true going forward, but as the projects start to become a little bit more complex and the time in between them begins to lengthen, there probably is not going to be a video every single Sunday. So renovations are still ongoing. I am still going to be sharing those as I have them, but I am not going to be trying to crank out content every single Sunday when I don't have anything to show you guys. So I wanted to offer that explanation just in case some of you were wondering, since there have been a couple of Sundays here recently where I haven't uploaded anything. But there's a lot of exciting stuff coming, and I'm looking forward to sharing all of that with you when the time comes. So all of that said, that is it for me. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.